Hey everybody, thanks for coming today. I did want to let you know that we are recording now, and we will be recording so I can post this to the cloud later for folks that can't be here today. So thanks everyone that could be here for this workshop about the Truman Scholarship and the application. We're just going to go through the application and a few other related programs today, and then we'll see if you have any questions, and then that'll be that. So just who I am, I'm Craig Feiler. I'm the Director of the Office of National Fellowships here at Florida State University. This will be my 15th time working with the Truman Scholarship, and it's one that I'm really excited about, one that fits really well with the character of our students here at Florida State. So what I like to do here is make the, oh, there we go. Give me one sec. There we go. So the Truman Scholarship, having some tech issues there, sorry about that. So the Truman Scholarship, the mission for it, as you can see here, is really to target college juniors who have leadership potential to make a big difference in the world. And the definition of juniors we'll talk about in a minute, but one thing I like to talk about here is this mission towards public service. Oftentimes students will see this and they will immediately default to politics, which is not wrong. It's absolutely students that want to go into politics and they want to do the Truman Scholarship. This is perfect for them. But it's also for students who want to work in the public sector in any way, shape, or form. And that can be in education, that can be in nonprofit advocacy. It can be, doing entrepreneurial work that's for society. So there's so many ways you can approach public service under the Truman umbrella, and they're great with that. And what they'll do is they'll provide financial support and also programmatic support for you throughout a graduate program, through a medical program, through a law program, so that you are set up to really be a change agent and make a difference in society. So what the award provides is $30,000 in support for graduate studies towards a public service related graduate degree. As I just mentioned, it can be a medical degree, it can be a law degree, it can be a master's of public administration, some other sort of master's degree, pretty much any option on the table, as long as you make the case for it to be public service related and what you're trying to do. They also do a Scholars Leadership Week, which is a week in May, which would be at the end of this academic year for all of the scholars from around the country who are selected. There's a Summer Institute, which is done the year after you graduate, where they bring all of your class of scholars to DC. And there's also even a Truman Fellows program for a little bit later on in your careers, where you can continue your educational journey as a Truman and start to give back to current Truman scholars. Oops. There we go. So to be eligible, you must be a US citizen. You must be a junior. I have junior in quotes because I know for you all, junior means a lot of different things. You often do it by credit hours, but what junior means to Truman is someone in their third year. So if you started in fall of 2019 or summer of 2019, you'll be starting your third year. This is your eligibility window. You can already be classified as a senior from credits, that is fine. But what they're really looking for is somebody in their third year who is graduating sometime next year. Now, if you're in your third year and you're graduating this year, you can also be eligible. We would want to talk about that one-on-one. You also need to be enrolled full-time at the time of application. So that'd be full-time this semester and full-time next semester in the spring. We also are hoping that you'll be a change agent, in other words, wanting to make a difference in your way, in your field, in your particular area of interest, that you work in the public sector. As I mentioned, it can be government, it can be education, nonprofit, in some sort of public interest or advocacy sector to improve conditions in the area that you're interested in. And you have to be going on to some form of secondary education, because that is what the degree pays for, that $30,000, master's degree, a doctorate degree, an MD, some sort of professional degree like a law degree, even an accounting degree in certain circumstances. So eligibility, what makes you a good candidate here for the Truman Scholarship? They want to see people that are involved with organizations and activities that are related to your interests. The things that you're doing, they should all work together. They should come in almost a synergistic way with your leadership experience, your service experiences, your campus activities, your community activities. so that they are all painting a picture and creating a narrative of this change that you want to be in the world. You can see that there's community service related activities that are organized by school, but there's also internships, things that are out in the community. They love to see that government service. They love to see partisan political activities and campaign work, supporting a candidate, supporting a cause, anything that you can possibly do to demonstrate how you want to make an impact in society. Now, that being said, they don't expect you to do all of these things, but really they're looking to see how you balance the needs of what you're doing with these various opportunities to be involved with the community. So in the application, you'll get a chance to make a case for how you're going to be that change agent, and you'll illustrate and list all of the things that you do. So you can see that you'll get to put some high school activities on there, civic and professional activities, campus activities, government activities. There's going to be short personal essays. You'll write about the graduate program, law school, med school, as well as in career plans essays. And you'll have a policy proposal, which we'll talk about all of these in turn. So you can see here, and this is pretty long, and so you'll be able to talk this through with me a little bit more personal one-on-one. You have a leadership essay. So you're going to write about something that you've done in terms of leadership. It can be positional, but it doesn't have to be. It can be a time where you saw something that needed to be changed and you helped lead that change, whether it was successful or not. You also have to write about a recently particularly satisfying public service activity. So where have you tried to make a difference? Where have you tried to help? They're going to ask you to talk about a problem or need in society you want to address when you enter public service. And this can be a whole host of things. We've had people write about veterans issues. We've had people write about voting. We've had people write about food insecurity. We've had people do them on pretty much anything that you can imagine. And so if you have an issue that is near and dear and close to your heart that you're wanting to make an impact with, that's where we're going to have you write what we're going to have you write about here in the application. You're going to talk about the graduate program that you want to pursue with the Truman Scholarship, and then they're going to have you do a 5 to 10 year plan. What do we do after you graduate from that program? And then what do you do 5 to 7 years later? Then they also give you a chance, you can see right there at the end, for a personal statement. You also need 3 letters of recommendation. One will be written about your leadership experience that I mentioned. One will be written about your public service experience that I mentioned. And then there's also an academic letter or a letter from a professor. You also provide official transcripts, although there's a campus deadline, which I'll explain momentarily, and an unofficial transcript is good for that. So the competition, I know that's a lot, and it's certainly something that I welcome one-on-one conversations about, so we can talk through what all of that means for you specifically with your experiences and your interests. But let me give you a little bit more information about the competition itself. So FSU can nominate up to 4 students annually for the national competition. For that reason, we have to have a campus deadline and a campus level of review to select those 4 nominees. So to accomplish that, the internal FSU deadline is Wednesday, November 3rd at 3 p.m. So in order to be considered for one of those 4 spots, you need to complete an application, have it turned into me in my office. And when you do that, then you'll interview with our campus committee. They will select the 4 folks to nominate, and then we'll work towards the national deadline on February 1st if you're one of the 4 nominees. Then if you're one of the 4 nominees and you are selected as a finalist, you would do an interview with the Truman folks, and those are usually done in March. They're done region by region, and that's where it talks about applying in Florida or your home state. Our region for the state of Florida is in Atlanta, and that's Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina, and Alabama. So I like to put Daniel up here. He was our Truman Scholar back in 2015, and I like to put him up here because he's a great example of someone who attended this very presentation and was unsure that he would be a good candidate for this award. But he followed up from this presentation with a conversation with me, and we set up a meeting and we talked. And one of the very first things he told me was like, I don't think I'm a good fit for this. But we started talking, and he was a veteran. He was a little bit older than most of you all probably are, because he had served in the armed forces, and he was thinking that would make him ineligible. He thought that his interest in veterans affairs would make him ineligible. And to the contrary, because he had a very specific and focused interest, it created a very strong application. He was interested in supporting veterans who had returned from active duty service and looking at their needs, their physical needs, their mental needs, their needs in reacclimating to campus life as students. And he was able to put together a really strong application around veterans student advocacy. It was wonderfully received. And as you can see here, he did receive the Truman Scholarship, and he went on to do doctoral work that did research in psychology around veterans' needs and veterans' issues. So that being said, that's a lot about the Truman. I'm going to sort of let that sit for just a second. And I am going to cover in the next about 4 or 5 slides, just a couple of other related activities, related applications that you may be interested in, that a lot of the students that are interested in Truman will apply for. And so I'm going to just list these out too. And if one is interesting to you, certainly just make a note of it. And when we do a follow-up conversation, we can talk about these as well. So the first one is called the Public Policy and International Affairs Fellowship. Now, this is a summer program. It's called the Junior Summer Institute. And you can see here it says you must have at least 1 semester of coursework remaining before graduation. That means it's also for students in their junior year. So it's the same eligibility window as the Truman. And so this would be the time frame. You can see here that they're looking for folks that want to go to a master's degree. So it's a little more specific than Truman in this regard. And they're looking for folks that want master's degrees in either public policy or international affairs. That's the name of the program. And they partner with consortium graduate schools for you to do a summer program, which would be the summer coming up, summer 2022, in public policies and international affairs. In the application, which we'll put here, which you can see here is usually due in early November, you would receive a stipend to attend one of these summer institutes around public policy or international affairs. And then you have the opportunity, if you want to go to one of the partner locations, which you can see here listed, they will give you a minimum of $5,000 towards graduate school. And we've had a great success with Florida State students that have applied for PPIA and been able to go to these partner campuses, and some of whom have then gone on to go to graduate school in these programs. We also have a program called Humanity in Action, and this is also a summer program that you'd be able to do this coming summer, in summer 22. We believe this will be back on after having COVID restrictions. And so this is for undergraduate students. You don't have to be in your junior year. You can actually be in your senior year, or you can be in your sophomore year. And there's an opportunity here, both domestic and international, to travel and to study human and civil rights issues. You can see the countries that are listed here are some of the partner countries where you would go for the summer. And in the United States, the program is actually done through the Carter Center in Atlanta. Excuse me, when you do the Europe trip, you can see here, you go to one of these European cities, go to a US cities, and you study histories of discrimination, resistance, international human rights, civil rights here in the US among minority groups. And it's a way for students from all disciplines to come together to brainstorm and to really get a chance to figure out solutions to these issues domestically and internationally. This application opens usually at the beginning of November, and it closes in early January for summer of 2022. And then we do have a domestic program that I want to let you know about. And this is for students that are in the College of Social Sciences. And you can be a double major there. You can have a major in another college, as long as you have at least one major in the College of Social Sciences. And this is the Social Science Scholars Program. This one also, you need to be in your junior year. You can see with at least 3 semesters remaining until graduation. And so this is one also where if you're going to be applying for the Truman and you're a social science student, I really encourage you to apply for social science scholars as well. You have a great curricular program with this, with Drs. Mayo and Taylor, as well as $5,000 to do a summer and fall research project over this coming summer. And that one, the application is, I haven't seen it this year, but it's usually due in late September, early October. So this is what we do here in the fellowships office, if you're unfamiliar. As you can tell just from this brief overview, this is a lot to take in and a lot to remember. It's our job here in the fellowship's office to really help you navigate these complex application processes and these timelines with all of the various component parts that you have to keep together, including the referees, which are your references, like how do I select them, how do I talk to them. We're here to provide you essays, writing guides, and more importantly, to provide you critiquing and workshopping of the essays. This is a very particular kind of writing, one that a lot of you haven't done a lot of yet, and we're here to workshop with you over the course of several weeks, working on this applications. Then, if there's a question that you have about one of these applications that we can't answer, we know the folks at the foundations that we can connect you with to provide you answers to your specific questions. This process is a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work, and if you decide to do it Truman or one of these similar applications, what usually happens is we start meeting weekly throughout the months of September and October towards a completed application with that early November deadline. And you will be amazed at what you're able to accomplish in terms of your ability to express yourself, what you learn about writing, and also realizing what it is you've accomplished and the potential that you have to accomplish amazing things. And this is really what I want you to take from one of these applications, regardless of whether you win or not, because they are highly competitive and very few people win them. But everyone who I've ever worked with on one of these applications, almost without exception, has come back and told me how much they have learned about themselves and about how to present themselves in writing through working on one of these applications. So you can see here my particulars in terms of how to get in touch with me. And so if you're watching this live today, or if you're watching the video that's now been up on YouTube, please certainly reach out to me with an email. I will be most happy to set up an appointment with you so we can talk a little bit more about how the Truman or one of these other programs might fit in with what you're trying to do. All right, so that being said, I wonder if we have any questions. We may not. Sometimes I do a very thorough job. Don't see any in the chat. There, Alex, you got any questions for me? No? Perfect. All right. So I want to thank everybody for coming here today. And for that, I'm going to stop recording and hope to hear from you all soon.